tell you something, dude.
I would love if you told me something.
I saw 2001.
You did?
I did, dude.
Oh my God. Who'd you watch it with?
You. And Alex. I watched it with Alex.
The cat's out of the bag.
The cat's out of the bag.
Ryan finally saw 2001: A Space Odyssey.
I'm going to be honest.
Listen, hang on real quick. I want like your deep thoughts on this movie. I want to hear everything you loved about it, what you didn't expect. I want just like, please tell me everything.
Dude, okay, so first of all, this is going to be a very bold claim. Now, I've made some really bold claims in my life. I think that may be a part of my legacy is making very bold claims about like reality and shit like that. But the boldest claim that I will ever make, and I will die on this hill.
This is going to make me happy if it's what I think it is
that this is the most profoundly mind-blowing film ever created.
Yes. I would fully agree. Continue, but
dude. So 2001, it's insanely deep. The funny thing is, I was talking about it in interviews before we had the podcast, and I was referencing my friend Nick, who keeps talking about this movie.
Yeah,
and that's why I knew the end. But dude, okay, so major spoilers. We are going to be discussing 2001: A Space Odyssey and how it pertains to real life esoteric concepts, the phenomenon, not the whack ass alien like agenda that they're lying about, but the real phenomenon.
Yes,
the real one.
And also, if you haven't seen this movie yet, it came out in 1968. So, like,
okay,
spoilers.
First fact, I want to go a little out of the box. You ready?
I'm ready, baby.
Okay. So, first of all, and by the way, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you for calling me. So,
you enjoyed that?
I did. I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the vibe.
Okay.
Where were we, dude? 2001 came out in 1968. Which that was a very prolific year. Funnily enough, my dad, he gets these, I would call them downloads, so to speak. I mean, if we're just going to like be out with it, I'm going to speak my truth, blah, 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 I'm empowered, all that, little shit.
In other words, like intrusive thoughts?
No, I'm just saying like now that we have a podcast, I'm going to speak.
No, Ryan, I meant like the downloads.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. It's
not always about you, Ryan.
You asked me a question. I thought you were saying, do I get intrusive thoughts?
That face was genuine shock.
I was shocked. I was like, what? No, I'm just saying I'm going to speak my truth. I'm going to be for real. Like, we have some weird shit happen, like some psychic shit. And it's like, yeah, a lot of times it is like intrusive thoughts, and it's very specific things. And then I'll look them up, and it's real. It's like some psychic shit, dude.
Yeah.
That's why the government was exploiting my dad. Oh. I'm just kidding. I've already said that.
Geez.
It feels good to come out and say that.
It's cathartic.
It is cathartic.
That's beautiful. I'm so glad. If nothing else, I'm so glad that this podcast has brought you some catharsis and some clarity, man. It really, as your friend, it just really warms my heart to know that.
What does it do to you as my co-host?
Nothing.
Okay.
As your co-host, I feel completely nothing towards you.
Okay, then we will carry on.
Okay.
So, there's some psychic ass shit happens to us.
For sure, yes.
And one of the things that my dad got in his head that he couldn't shake, and he was telling me about this, was he said the dark plan, like the false disclosure narrative, whatever, it started around 1970. That's what my dad said. It started around 1970. And I was like, really? That's pretty crazy, Dad. Why do you say that? He's like, I don't know. It's just the beings put it in my head that this dark plan, started around 1970. And I started doing some research. And okay, so for starters, the Twin Towers began they broke the ground for construction in 1968, right? Yeah. What else came out in 1968? Rosemary's Baby.
And 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Well, duh. I'm bringing it back to that. But Rosemary's Baby came out in 1968. It's not like technically relevant to 2001, but I'm kind of painting a bigger picture here. Mm-hmm. I think 1968 was a very relevant year. Pivotal for like the occult and things like that, like ritual programming and culture shit through movies and films. So again, 33 years before 2001 was 1968. And now in Rosemary's Baby, which was made by Roman Polanski, right, who was like a really big prolific filmmaker at the time, he was literally charged with some really dark, egregious shit. Do you know about that?
Yeah, he was also married to Sharon Tate, right?
I'm getting there.
Okay, sorry, spoiler.
Yeah. So he did some dark, egregious shit. He fled the country. He was pretty much known for making satanic horror films, right? So in Rosemary's Baby, if you keep the concept in mind, like what if, you know, Hollywood at large is this big like occult propaganda machine, and they're like changing the narrative of reality and what we understand as, you know, knowledge and collective consciousness through films and through media. Rosemary's Baby is a pivotal film, you know, if that theory holds any weight. Because in the end of the movie, when the Antichrist is born, basically, these like satanic people, they keep shouting, "This is year one. This is year one."
Ugh, that's creepy.
Bro, that's when they started building the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
33 years later, they fell. Now, 33, that's obviously the master like occult number. Now we're going to get back to 2001. What's it about? It's about the monolith, which if you get into esotericism, like, you know, alchemy, Freemasonry, is the concept that the soul goes through a profound destruction and rebirth. It's like the unification of opposites, like male and female energy. It's some deep esoteric shit that I'm not going to, you know, expound upon forever and sound like a little dork. But, you know, it's the concept, Boaz and Joaquin. It's the two towers and they become one. That's kind of like what the monolith, it's some Masonic shit, dude.
Didn't they like build one tower in place of the two?
Yes, they did, Nick. The two towers fell down, and then they built one. And I'm not going to go too much into the controversy of 9/11, but you know, if there ever was an event in human history that was a mass ritual to like shape the narrative, I think that would be it.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So.
Not saying it wasn't a tragedy. You know, of course.
Real people died.
Yes.
I'm not saying that's not true, but
Yeah.
you know, I'm just saying, what if there really were some people who do some really messed up stuff for that reason? And I was told that by people in intelligence communities, that a lot of that shit you see in the public on TV and all these tragedies, a lot of it ain't so coincidental.
Right.
You know, it's a sad reality. So we're going to move on from that back to 2001. I think that, you know, it's 33 years before 9/11. That's pretty relevant in terms of occult numerology, symbology, shit like that. B, oh my God, dude. The concepts in 2001: A Space Odyssey are some of the most advanced esoteric concepts that I have ever seen in a film. And if you listen to our podcast, you know that we just sit around and watch this stuff as a hobby. And, you know, we're basically recording ourselves talking about the symbolism in movies and film. Like, we're definitely going to do like an esoteric Dragon Ball Z episode because, you know, we just love watching the shit. And I will say, if you have not seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, go watch it right now.
It deserves to be watched immediately. And then, you know, we found out Alex hadn't seen it. And, you know, Alex, his favorite movie is Clockwork Orange, which is also Kubrick. And so it was like, I was like, you've seen Clockwork Orange, but you haven't seen 2001.
Oh, bro.
And by the way, spoiler alert, he watched the movie and it blew his fucking mind.
2 nights ago, me and Alex watched it together.
It blew his mind.
Because we were like, you know, we got to do some investigation for an episode on Saturday. But I was about to say this about 5-10 minutes ago. You brought up the Sharon Tate thing. Yeah, Roman Polanski's wife was Sharon Tate, and she was pregnant, the year after Rosemary's Baby came out, the film, and then Sharon Tate was slaughtered by the Manson family. Now, if you get into the whole, like, what if a lot of this shit really is perpetrated on society to shape the narrative, Manson was probably some CIA thing to squash the New Age movement. That's a real theory. Like, I didn't make that up.
Yeah, because we know for a fact, it's been declassified that, you know, Manson was used by the CIA. MK Ultra shit. He is MK Ultra. Like he is MK. He's literally like basically patient zero for MK Ultra, and they used him, you know, and tainted him with LSD, you know,
bro, I kind of have a theory.
Yeah.
I kind of have a theory that back in like 1960s, the age of Aquarius might have like almost happened, and whoever these people at the top of society, like the real dark psychopathic, the rulers, whatever, they had to do the Manson slaughtering to like squash that shit. But I don't think they can now because we have an internet. Like they can't squat. Like, it's out of their control now.
It's uncontainable.
Like Sam Tripoli, one of my podcast heroes, and I've been on his show. By the way, go check out Tinfoil Hat episode 434, I believe. That's my episode.
Nice.
It's sick as hell. But one thing he always says that I 100% agree with this is that the internet got away from them.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I mean,
it's out of there. They can't do shit about
it's
it.
uncontainable. It's like the Wild West. They can't do anything. The internet's too huge and too like sprawling.
It's some age of Aquarius technology.
New age.
Right? Now, do you want to get into 2001?
Please.
Okay. So for those of you who haven't seen it, it's shockingly, it has a lot to do with the phenomenon. I mean, the basic premise of the film, if you boil it down to its most fundamental storyboard, it's these higher cosmic entities guiding the course of evolution, exactly like the beings my dad experienced.
It's literally like the theme of 2001 is like interdimensional, whatever, higher entities. Yeah, guiding the evolution of human consciousness.
Yeah, of consciousness.
Yeah,
that's
of
correct.
Specifically, like basically in the
it's
movie,
not just the biology, but it's the consciousness.
Yeah, in the movie, each time one of these monoliths appears, it is to basically level up the human consciousness, like
at that present time,
bring it to its next stage. That's what the whole movie is about. It happens at the beginning of the movie, the middle of the movie, and the end of the movie. They see a monolith, and it literally advances human consciousness.
And then you get to the end of the movie, and I know we're gonna jump around. There's not gonna necessarily be a chronology here, but like at the end of the movie, literally, he basically goes through this cosmic portal, and he's reborn into some transcendental entity, and it manifests as him being like this baby in this weird little temple. I mean, it's extremely deep in terms of symbology, and the thing about the movie that I love the most. This blew my mind so freaking bad that I literally got in touch with a gifted astrologer through a mutual friend and started getting readings for everybody. But the purpose of the film, like what Stanley Kubrick is showing you, in my opinion, that astrology is the higher science. Because you notice every time the monolith appears, it's always pointed at a planetary conjunction, like an eclipse.
Yeah, like Saturn and Jupiter.
They end up on Jupiter, which
Right.
that's esoteric shit. Jupiter, in Roman mythology, Jupiter is like the savior king figure. In Greek, that's like Zeus. That's also Jesus. That's, you could say, Osiris. Like in all the religions, the hero character basically is Jupiter. So Kubrick is smart as hell for saying like when he goes to Jupiter is when he goes through the ascension phase. It's some occult astrology shit, dude. Now, the monolith, in my opinion... Now, there's this guy named Bill Cooper.
Okay.
Alex, you know Bill Cooper? Behold a Pale Horse? He's like one of the most OG conspiracy theorists of all time.
Oh, wow.
He went off the rails. I think he died in a shootout with a group of police officers.
Oh, my God.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of guy.
No, dude, but there's like theories about that it was some MK Ultra, like he was whacked.
Whoa.
Like, yeah, you just got to look up Bill Cooper.
Damn.
And like it's a psyop within a psyop. He was like Alex Jones before there was Alex Jones. And
my
like,
God.
let me just go ahead and give a clarification here. I'm not a supporter of Alex Jones, but everybody knows who he is. It's, he's a conspiracy guy. Everybody knows who he is. Bill Cooper was that before Alex Jones was Alex Jones.
I just want to make a tiny comment on Alex Jones. He's like a serious fucking kook who's like lost his marbles, but he's really ahead of some conspiracies that have been proven.
Well, here, I don't want to, who knows? He may hear this someday. I want to clarify that I believe there are psyops, and there are people put into certain communities to say certain things to shape the narrative, and Alex Jones probably has the biggest reach of any conspiracy theorist in the world. But anyway, enough about Alex Jones. I just brought that up as a funny little side note.
Yeah.
Bro, when I was 18, I definitely used to listen to Alex Jones. That was my entry into the conspiracy shit, and I've expanded.
Yeah. He's definitely like been right about some things.
Maybe, if that was leaked to him. But anyway, so back to the Bill Cooper thing. I watched this series that Bill Cooper did called, I think it was something Babylon, like Mystery of Babylon or something like that. It's an old YouTube series. Now, Bill Cooper was out like before the internet, like 80s, 90s kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
And he did some deep dive occult. And one of the series he did was about 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I want to watch it.
Yeah, I was going to get back to that eventually. I had to, for some reason, talk about a tangent of Alex Jones. I guess Bill Cooper reminds me of him. But anyway.
Do you think Alex Jones believes in like crystals and like their powers and their...
Probably. I mean, I have no idea. I haven't listened to his show in many years.
Oh, you didn't pick up that I was prompting you to make your crystal joke for the episode?
Well, I better pick up the ball on that one. And now that we're on the subject, I am holding my 7 chakra pyramid crystal tetrahedron with
Orgonite.
copper shavings and a compressed quartz crystal.
All
And
right.
it's
Box
all right, moving on. Yep,
checked.
box checked.
Back to 2001.
All right, so that was a joke.
Good, hilarious joke, right?
But see, the joke is I really do have this thing.
It's right there.
It was like $30. That's why I bought it.
All right.
Okay.
So Bill Cooper.
So Bill Cooper does a series where he watched 2001: A Space Odyssey like back then, and he decoded the occult symbolism in it. And one of the things that he keeps talking about, which I 100% like, I back him up on this. Like, homie, Bill, I think you're right on this. The monolith is kind of like the obelisk.
Yeah.
Now, if you dig into Egyptian mythology, do you know what the obelisk represents?
No.
Look it up.
Right now?
No. Later. If you don't know where the obelisk comes from, ladies and gentlemen, look it up. And this is an example of like our... okay, you want me to just say it?
Just say it.
You ever heard of a phallus?
Yeah. I've heard of a phallus.
Yeah,
I have heard of a phallus.
In these occult circles, you know, in ancient times, they represented this kind of imagery, you know, as like the forces that create all life in the cosmos. It's like some weird occult shit. And that's kind of like what the monolith represents. And it's always pointing towards the astrology. So it's some really deep archetypal occult imagery. It's not just a science fiction film. He's talking about higher dimensional entities, literally astrology. Bro, that's occult. And that's one of the major things I wanted to get into concerning 2001 was I wanted to ponder like astrology, because here's the thing that we haven't even mentioned on the podcast yet, but it's a major part of my dad's contact experience. When he saw this female entity in 2012, one of the things she told him, and like I have it in the regression, I believe that's in the regression, because remember, he experienced that consciously and he remembers a lot of things outside of those little regression sessions.
Right, yeah.
Dude, that rhymed.
Regression session.
Regression session. Anyway, one of the things that the lady entity told my father was that when the red star Regulus aligns with the gaze of the Sphinx at or just before dawn in the constellation of Leo, we would enter like an awakening. There would be a new knowledge.
Wow. Now, that's like a prophecy.
It is a prophecy.
Wow.
But it is very important to clarify that my father has never given a date on this. He was never given a date on this by the entities. We had friends at NASA who looked up that alignment, and they determined, based on their little simulation or whatever, that date was September 23rd, 2026.
That would be the next time that like alignment happened.
The star Regulus would align with the gaze of the Sphinx just before dawn in the constellation Leo.
Wow. Okay, align with the gaze of does that mean like level with its
like the
eyes?
horizon?
Oh, wow.
Like Regulus will be
gotcha.
on the horizon
Gotcha.
with the gaze of the Sphinx just before dawn in Leo. It's a very specific alignment that is extremely rare. Literally, it's like astronomically low chance for it to happen. Get it? Astronomically?
Whoa, dude.
And 2001 reminds me of that, because it's kind of like Kubrick is telling you the higher science here is astrology, bro. Like, there's
tons of astrology in the movie.
Every single time there's a monolith, except for the one in his bedroom at the end.
Right.
But every single time there's a monolith, I guess that's 3 times. Mm-hmm. When they're the like apes in the beginning on the moon and then out in space by Jupiter.
Yeah. It's like orbiting Jupiter.
Yeah, it's orbiting, right. It's floating out in space. Kubrick makes a big point to show that the monolith points towards the astrology. And I think that's very telling that like there is a higher cosmic science that we've forgotten with time. That's why the ancients mapped out the stars. You want to know some crazy shit?
Please.
It's called astrotheology.
Ooh, now, wow. If you just like phonetically, what that means, theology is like the study of deities or the study of God or the gods or whatever. So astrotheology, please explain.
Well, this is a area of study where basically the premise is all of the religions of the ancient past are telling the story of the stars.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so cool.
And there's all kinds of great videos to watch on YouTube. You can just Google astrotheology. But it's something I heard on Tinfoil Hat. I can't remember the guest's name. I followed him on Instagram, but he goes into it in great detail. And it's just like, I can't remember which star constellation is which god, but there's a large possibility that a lot of these ancient myths are based on like the zodiacal signs, and that the zodiacal signs, if you zoom out and do you know what macrocosm is? Microcosm versus macrocosm.
To be honest, I don't even know what microcosm means.
Okay.
I mean, obviously I know what micro means. What is cosm?
Well, let's I don't know, like etymologically what the word cosm means.
Right.
But the concept of microcosm versus macrocosm is, it's kind of like as above, so below. Like a microcosm would be the bacteria on Nick's finger, on your fingertip.
Okay.
That's a little unit of cells that looks very, you can't see it with your eyes, but it's a whole world on your finger.
Like a universe.
Yes. It's like a universe on your finger of bacterial life and amoebas and molecules, and that's the microcosm. The macrocosm is Nick.
Oh, okay.
But that same thing exists with like our universe. Like the microcosm might be, your garden.
So the macrocosm is essentially like, what if
the
Earth,
larger whole?
Yeah, like what if Earth was the tip of my finger? Basically,
or like
we would be taking the place of those bacterias in that analogy.
Or like, what if the realm we're in is a very small physical rendition of a higher reality that is not physical?
Or rendering.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with, like rendering.
Yeah.
What if the reality we're in is an elusive version of some higher celestial reality?
Right.
And you want to know some off the wall shit, dude? I kind of wonder if these beings literally come from the stars, and I'll tell you why I say that. Because again, it's in one of my dad's regressions. The beings told my dad they come from the sun.
Yeah,
and like the sun is a
it's
portal.
like a portal.
Yeah, and I kind of believe that the celestial bodies out there in space are like hands and wheels and cogs in a cosmic clock.
Well, hey, if these are beings of light and they're coming out of the biggest source of light in our galaxy, the sun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, okay, that makes sense to me. Like,
yeah,
check that box. Makes perfect sense to me.
Since ancient times, people have worshipped the sun. Now, I stand by this. I don't think people should worship anything ever. I said that in episode 6, and I stand by that. I don't think we were meant to worship. I think that's what Jesus warned against, dude. Like, if you read the New Testament, he wait a minute. How do we get to Jesus from 2001: A Space Odyssey?
Who cares, dude?
This is what makes us stand out.
This is ADHD.
Yeah. But that's one of the things, like, if you want to be Christian, that's great. Jesus is cool. But one of the things he said is don't ever have a master or a lord. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Can we go on a quick side tangent?
Let's go.
I just want to talk about, me and Casey, my wife, had a conversation a few days ago talking about, how we're programmed from such a young age in the South to, believe every word of the Bible. And
as literal.
And if there's a single word that you don't fully believe or whatever, then you're inherently wrong. That's blasphemous, and you're going to burn in hell forever.
Yep.
So, me and Casey, we have deep conversations, just like you and I do. We surround ourselves with, like, deep thinking people, I think.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're talking about all this, and, we're talking about the collective consciousness and whatever, and Casey, and I said out loud, I was like, yeah, no, I don't believe that God is a thing. I don't believe that there's like a single entity separate from us somewhere that like is sentient and like doing things with will and by choice and whatever. And like, she was like shocked. She was like, oh my gosh, like how? She's like, I believe that too, but I can't say it out loud.
Yeah.
Like,
there's a lot of guilt and shame there from the way, you're raised.
But my response to her was, we had a deep, long conversation about, religion versus spirituality and whatever. And kind of the way that we ended up was like, this whole collective consciousness thing that we talk about and we ponder and we, whatever, like, in my mind, that is God. Like, you know what I mean? I think God and Jesus and whatever, I think that was just like symbolism, a way to grasp at straws trying to explain collective consciousness and whatever in a way that humanity can understand. I think it's just...
Well, dude, we haven't done the mystics episode yet. We get together and we record in batches, and we were going to record an episode this weekend about like, episode 1 was Let's Get Mystical, and we talked topics like Hermeticism, Gnosticism, but we were going to do a deeper dive and go into specific mystics that taught specific things And we ended up not being able to do it because I got my hands on the regression last week, and then we were like, oh my God, we got to read the regression and kind of like inject that into the collective consciousness. But there is this mystic named Edgar Cayce.
I've heard you mention him.
Yes,
I'm not familiar.
Alex wanted to talk about Edgar Cayce this weekend.
Okay.
And Edgar Cayce is probably the greatest psychic of all time. He was born in like early 1900s or late 1800s. He lived, a different generation. It was probably like 1930s, 1940s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was this kid who I think he dropped out of like the 7th grade. He was just like, back then, early America, lots of poverty, not as much education as we had access to, stuff like that. Dropped out of school. I think he was pretty abused by his parents. I can't necessarily recall that part. But what I read about Edgar Cayce is he would read the Bible like 40 times a year or something like that. And he developed this ability where he could sleep on a book, like under his pillow, and he would wake up and he would retain the information. They called him the sleeping prophet.
What?
And bro, I swear to you, he had an experience with a lady just like my dad. He did. Now, Edgar Cayce was an old-fashioned like Christian. He started doing this channeling kind of stuff where he would go into these trances and he would enter this realm that he called the Akashic records, which is the concept that quantum physics even talks about how there's got to be some dimension somewhere where all data is stored, right? Well, they have these terms for it in like, symbolic terminology, whatever. So in his mind's eye, in his little psychic vision quest, whatever, he went into the Akashic records and he started seeing the past. And a lot of his predictions about the past started being verified by archaeological digs years after his death. And one of his visions of the past was like the life and times of Jesus. Now, if you're hip with the New Testament, which surprisingly most people who go to church aren't, because, most people don't read. They just go to church on Sunday. And
they just listen to what their pastor says.
I was the kind of kid where, this about me. When I was a little kid, we would even go to church together sometimes.
Yeah.
And I would sit there and I would, like, when church was on, I wasn't really listening. I was reading the book of Revelations.
Dude, I did I did the same thing.
My dad did that.
What?
My dad did that.
I was just about to tell you.
My dad was obsessed with reading Revelations when he was a little boy.
Every single time we went to church, I would not even listen to what I would read just Revelations.
Yeah.
Almost every single time.
And you know what's the funny thing,
That's
dude?
wild.
To a Christian, that's the most mystical thing you can have access to without it being like a sin or whatever. So like it makes sense we were attracted to that document. It's the most mystical text in Christianity. But anyway, so Edgar Cayce talks about the life and times, like the missing times of Jesus. So if you're hip with the New Testament, Jesus is like born, the Magi come, which we already covered that in a previous episode. That's the Zoroastrian priests. Mm-hmm. And then he's like gone to Egypt because of like King Herod wanted to kill him and shit like that. And there's another passage when he's 12 years old, he's doing a little ministry, he has a little crowd, and then he disappears until he's like 30.
Whoa.
So Edgar Cayce had these psychic channelings about when he was 12 to 30. Like what happened?
Yeah.
Well, according to Edgar Cayce, and the cool thing, like I was going to go more in depth on this, but the cool thing.
Wait, there really isn't anything in the Bible between those ages?
No. There's 18 missing years.
Oh my gosh.
But bro, there's other texts.
Right. That have been hidden or taken.
Yes. There's other texts.
Right.
Like Saint Issa. Dude, there's like a Tibetan monastery that has records that someone named Saint Issa checked in there. And that's kind of hard for me. I need to do a little more research to kind of like cleanly explain that. But I think in India they called Jesus Saint Issa. Like it's some interesting stuff. It's some alternative history kind of stuff. But anyway, there's enough evidence to suggest that what we have in the Bible of Jesus is not complete. And I would say inaccurate.
Just like the Nag Hammadi scrolls?
Well, that's what I'm getting at.
That's another thing.
So Edgar Cayce started having these like, mystic revelations of the past. And then he started having mystic revelations of like the present and future, dude. Oof. And one of the things that he determined was all that mystical new age shit is like real. And that's like what the prophets of the past were teaching. And that's kind of why I'm so into it. I started having these breakthroughs and started having these dreams and synchronicities and started realizing that all this mystical shit is true because why? My dad is one of those mystics. Like he's saying some pretty new age shit after bumping into Beings of Light in 2007.
Oh yeah.
I mean, dude, he's been telling me about vibration and your thoughts affecting you since I was 13. And I didn't want to listen to it because I was an angsty teenager. And I'm like, I hate school. And dad's like, don't say hate. Don't say negative words. He was on this shit back then.
Really?
I just didn't want to listen because I was a teenager.
Yeah,
Like,
that's so wild.
Yeah, my dad's been onto this shit.
That is those are very new age concepts.
They are.
And
they're
like,
certainly not Christian concepts.
Wow.
Vibration. And anyway, where was I going? Oh yeah. So it just where I'm going with this is how I have fallen down the rabbit hole of having these fringe beliefs, because when you just stop absorbing what you're told to absorb, which we are kind of like telling people what to absorb if you think about it.
No, I think we're suggesting.
There's a difference.
I want it to be super clear. This podcast is not us telling you what you should do.
It's not. It's telling you what we're interested in.
100%. We're pondering here. We may believe in a lot of these things ourselves, and of course,
I do.
Of course, your dad's experience and your family's experience. Of course, we believe that I'm talking more about these new age concepts, and like you said earlier, if you want to believe in God and Jesus, please do. If it brings you happiness and solace, that's exactly to finish my thought from earlier. That's how the conversation between me and my wife ended. It ended with me telling her, honey, if you want to love God and love Jesus, please do. If that brings you peace and that brings you happiness, you can believe in God and in Jesus and what they represent without believing every word of the Bible and every word that they want you to believe, and practicing the exact way that they want you to. You got to be at church on Sunday. You got to do the, you know what I mean? You can believe in God and in Jesus in different ways, out of the box, outside of the box.
Yes, outside of the box. I do.
They want you to think inside the box.
Yeah, there is no box.
Especially when it comes to organized religion. Organized religion is literally a box, and they want you in it. But no, the getting out of the box is realizing that all religion is outside of the box.
Yeah, there's a truth, and the truth is out there somewhere, and you're not going to find it in any one system.
No, it's not found in the boxes.
You should look at all the systems.
Yeah.
You should look at all the systems.
The truth is not found in the boxes.
That's right.
It's found outside of the boxes.
Yeah, I agree.
But that doesn't mean, you're specifically told in Christianity you cannot pick and choose.
Yeah.
You listen to every word. But I think that's bullshit. I think pick and choose all you want.
You know what, man? When you get into Rosicrucians and studying, secret society stuff, basically the story of Jesus is the same myth as the story of King Arthur.
Well,
or Osiris.
Exactly. That's what we were talking about.
It's archetypal
previously.
Myths present in reality. And when you get it, the reason I brought up these mystics like Edgar Cayce, I was also going to segue into Neville Goddard. Neville Goddard is one of those early American mystics who taught an alternative approach to Christianity. And it's the concept of Jesus was real, but it's not literal like you read. Jesus is you and me and Alex and everybody else in the world. And your soul is incarnating over many lifetimes to go through that drama, that constant death and rebirth, and the hero's journey of the soul. And it's on some grand astrological clock. Probably every 26,000 years, there might be a societal reset. I don't know that for a fact, but I know the zodiacs go about 26,000 years.
Which is interesting.
And if that's the case, we're approaching the final one. We're approaching Aquarius, dude. That's the 13th zodiac.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just something I like to ponder. These beings told my dad when the Red Star Regulus, I don't know what it means.
Well, I mean, we got about 5 years till we find out.
Well, NASA gave that date. NASA gave that date.
Right. Who knows? It could be the next time that happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I doubt it, dude.
Right, obviously. But we don't know.
I doubt it, dude.
That's the whole point, is we don't know.
Well, let's talk 2001.
My favorite movie ever. It's so good. So here's what I want to know, if you don't mind me asking a couple questions.
Please.
What would you say is the...
Twist my arm.
Okay. What would you say is the one thing that... I mean, if you want to name more than one, that's fine too. But what, if anything, would you say is the thing that you were least expecting about the movie that kind of shocked you or whatever?
So the thing that tripped me up the most was how this movie was made in 1968, yet Kubrick somehow had the foresight to conceive of tablets, iPads, FaceTime communication. Dude, so I have two theories here.
Okay.
A, he's a visionary, like other visionaries among us, Nikola Tesla, Walt Disney, et cetera, et cetera.
Kanye West, according to himself.
I wasn't gonna say any that, but yeah. So that's my A theory, is that he's a visionary and he had the foresight to like conceive of that kind of technology before anyone else. My B theory, they really do have extreme advanced knowledge, and he was dripping that out into the collective consciousness decades before it was out in the public. And I believe that's possible because some of my friends in the CIA told me shit like that. Like they have technology decades out and they have to drip it to the public.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could totally see either of those being a reality. And I also thought it was
or
interesting.
a mix of both.
Yeah. And I also thought it was interesting. Alex said the thing that he least expected from the movie was all the silence.
Oh, yeah, that. Yeah, yeah.
It really
no
is.
curse words, no vulgarity, no profanity. I mean,
but,
it's just a solid movie. It was rated G.
But also like
right?
I think so.
I think it was rated G.
G or PG.
It was G.
But also like, yeah, silence is an instrument. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Play the pauses.
Exactly.
That's a real musical.
There are 10-minute scenes in the movie that are nothing but like,
bro. I don't think the first
like breathing.
I don't think the first human with like English language comes onto the movie.
So like a half hour in.
It's about a half hour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's genius.
It is truly it's an art piece. I don't even consider it a movie, dude. It is an art piece.
It is. I think it's the most profound.
It's
movie.
an experience. Like, yeah, it is extremely profound. Yeah,
dude. I guess what blows my mind, and please, like, stop me dead in my tracks if I'm rambling and it gets on your nerves.
No,
but
my favorite stuff to talk about.
Okay, we'll prove it and just listen to me say this next.
Okay,
I'm just kidding.
How about I prove it? We have a podcast where all we do is that.
That is true.
Is that proof enough for you?
That is, and I will continue.
Okay, thank you. You're permitted to continue.
All right, and I accept.
All right.
I just think what's like so crazy about the movie is it's just this higher knowledge that was not present in 1968. Like you were telling me,
look at what other movies came out in 1968. Like it was nothing like that.
Nothing, dude. That movie holds up to movies now.
Today, you can watch movies today that don't look as good as that, and that's 50 years old. That aren't as deep as that, aren't as artistic as that. It is truly a work of visionary art.
I think Kubrick is the guy that leaked occult secrets.
I can see that.
Watch Eyes Wide Shut.
Mm-hmm.
Watch it.
Dude, that whole like chanting scene, I don't know if I've said this before. That whole chanting
we have
scene,
in the podcast.
Oh, we have?
We did last time. But it's okay. Let's do it again.
It just like haunts my dreams. I hear it in my head.
Well, hey, don't worry about it because Kubrick had the foresight to not like put any
I know.
I think on people.
I think you actually
it's just a basic Latin mass in reverse.
Yeah.
No, but you know, if you want to stimulate the deepest depths of your imagination in terms of like cosmic wisdom and things like that, definitely watch 2001: A Space Odyssey. Dude, now that I think about it, it would be really sick if we started watching all the cosmic entity films, like Color Out of Space. Have you seen it?
No.
Oh my God, bro.
I really want to watch it.
We should watch that tomorrow.
There wasn't like an old one, was there?
It's a Lovecraft short story.
No. I know, but was there an old movie or is it only the new one?
No. You know Nicolas Cage is in it.
Yeah.
Dude, that movie is sick. Watching that, I had a synchronicity with, you know, some thought I had previously about like the wishing well being symbolism for your consciousness, like your unconscious mind. And bro, in the movie, they have like a well in their yard. They have a little alpaca farm. It's kind of a joke in the movie. And the little boy looks down the well and he sees like a cosmic entity at the bottom of the well.
What?
It's like
horrifying.
And I was like, oh my God, like maybe I was right. Maybe I was picking up on some resonant imagery. But definitely I believe that certain films contain resonant imagery with higher truths. That's kind of why we wanted to talk 2001 in the first place. Because when we watched this movie, both of us were like, oh my God, this is kind of like similar to my dad's experience with the higher beings and shit.
I think
the evolution.
Yeah, I'm sure our audience has caught on, you know, by now that what we like to do is theme, you know, some episodes around films that do that, you know, that touch on these really profound topics and prolific, you know, topics and stuff. So, and 2001 is perhaps one of the most, you know, profound and prolific. I mean, there's just...
I disagree. I think it is the most profound and prolific.
Fair enough, man. And honestly, seriously, we could do 20 episodes on 2001 and just dissect the whole thing. But what we really wanted to do is just come on here and say, like, this movie, the message and the theme of this movie is exactly what we've been talking about. That, like, we are being guided by higher beings just to advance our consciousness.
That's all it is. Yeah.
That's all it is.
Like, again, I want to reiterate. This whole UFO thing. I've never seen an alien.
Right.
I've never seen an alien.
Yeah.
I've never been probed.
Right.
And
not to
again,
discredit anyone's
I was warned
experience,
in the previous episode not to say a certain A word.
Sure.
So I will refrain. But I have not been probed. I have not been prodded. I have not been,
You haven't been face to face with what most people would consider a physical alien, like a flesh, being from another planet.
No.
Right.
What I was face to face with was an ethereal being that could touch me, but I couldn't touch it.
Yeah.
It was energy. And when it touched me, it felt like static. It felt like electricity running through my body. And it could look at me, I could look at it, but I couldn't do anything to it. I was very powerless, but I was not afraid.
Really?
Yeah. I was, it's just like, when you see something really quick and you process it in your head in a split second, it's like a different instinctual part of you. You know what I mean?
Well, actually, that happened to me on our last recording session 2 weeks ago. I had my first ever independent experience with the phenomenon. Every time I've ever seen an orb or a UFO or whatever you want to call it, I've been with Ryan and his family, for the most part. I can't remember a single experience I've ever had.
So you mean to tell me we recorded 3 episodes tonight and you didn't open with that shit?
I text you about it.
I know.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, I had an independent experience. We were driving on the way back to Fayetteville, back home, and I looked in the sky. Me and Casey were just talking, and I looked in the sky, and I saw like a light, it was an orb, and I was immediately, my brain goes like, it thought like 5 different things at once. It's like, is it a plane? Is it a UFO? Am I about to be disappointed that it's not a UFO? Like, what is it, or whatever? And then as I'm watching it, it's moving slightly and not blinking, and then it gets brighter, and I was like, okay, that, like, significantly, like twice as bright. And I was like, okay. And I'm still, by the way, I stopped talking mid-sentence. Casey's literally looking at me like, what are you doing? And it gets brighter, and then it starts moving in these really non-conventional patterns. And I'm dead silent, by the way. But as you're saying, I wasn't afraid. It's not like I saw it and I was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? It was like, I saw it and I was just like kind of awestruck. I was just like, and then, it was wild because we were going around a corner and the tree line was approaching. The trees obscured the UFO for just a brief second or two. And the moment we rounded that corner, it was gone.
Damn.
It was wild, man. It really was. It basically, every time I see something that I'm like, that might be a UFO or something, there's usually like some kind of indicator that it's not.
Yeah.
At least when I'm by myself. I've seen crazy shit with you and your family that's like undeniable. But with myself, it's usually like, oh, there's a blinking light, so it's probably an airplane. Or, oh, it's just moving in a straight line, so it's probably a satellite or something like that. Basically, this one like shattered all of that. It was like, nope, I'm going to get brighter. I'm not going to blink. I'm not going to move in a straight line, and I'm going to disappear on you.
Yeah.
It was basically flexing on me. Like,
oh,
I'm a UFO. Like, it literally was.
That's
like,
what the phenomenon does. It just flexes on us.
It tricks you. It's a trickster.
Yeah.
It messes with you.
But it tricks you in a good way, for sure.
That's what I mean. It messes with you. Like, haha, look at me.
Dude, I know for a fact that it messed with the government, and it always does. It messes with them.
Yeah. Sorry, I totally derailed.
No, dude, it's all good. I derail myself.
Okay.
Yeah. But the government has no leg up on this phenomenon. I don't care what crap they say on TV. I don't care what they tell the world someday, if it ever gets to a point to where they got to rally us against that. I can tell you right now, I could confidently say that my family is probably one of the most documented cases of this kind of phenomenon. I mean,
oh, absolutely.
Post-documentary, I mean, my dad has thousands of photos on his phone just of like orbs, not to mention things we've seen with our eyes, people being over in person. And what I want to say with that concept in mind, considering the sheer volume of experiences that we've had, there's not been one single instance where anyone on or around our property has been injured or harmed or threatened by these entities. It's all been benevolent, positive, and
Which, hey, look at the entities. I mean, you never see the entities in 2001,
right?
But they're completely benevolent. And a parallel that I've drawn before on the podcast, when your dad in the second regression said, the lady says that they tend to humanity like it's a terrarium.
In the first regression, it said it in both.
It said a garden in the first one,
right?
Terrarium was in the second one.
Yeah.
In the end of 2001, they put Dave, the main character, the human, they put him in an observatory. They literally put him in a place outside of space and time so just
that he can
watch him.
perceive the higher dimension.
Yes, just watch him
in a symbolic way.
And so I mean, I think that's exactly what's happening. I really do. And So, what do you say for the first time on Bledsoe Said So at the end of an episode, we do some of these what ifs?
Let's do it, dude.
Do you feel like we covered the 2001 thing pretty good?
I was going to ask the same thing.
I feel great.
Do you feel like we've covered enough of 2001?
Yeah, we just wanted to draw the basic parallels. Like I said, we could do 20 episodes on
I'm going to be honest, I'm pretty impressed.
Oh,
because we started talking about astrology and some weird occult stuff, and then we somehow got on Jesus.
Yeah.
I think that was pretty epic.
Yeah.
There is actually one more thing I wanted to say. I wanted to drop a little nugget.
Sure.
And then just kind of walk away from it and let people feel it out and, think about it for a while.
Okay.
But there's kind of been some insinuation that my dad, in some way, is like the archetype of Merlin.
Which would be, what archetype would that be?
The wizard, the magician,
Oh, of course. The magician. The magician.
Yeah.
Of course.
Which is funny because that's my life path or whatever. But here's the thing, dude. A tree caught fire in our backyard.
Yeah.
He saw a shining lady. You know Merlin's wife in the King Arthur myth was, one version is Morgan Le Fay. The other version is the Lady of the Lake.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
And now remember, the entity my dad saw called herself Hathor, which if you dig into ancient Egyptian myth, she's the goddess. They call her the Lady of the Sycamore Tree. Remember the tree caught on fire in our backyard.
Whoa.
So there's just, sometimes those little archetypal things align.
A lot of overlapping synchronicities.
And honestly, man, I think these mythologies not only align with the stars and the zodiac, but they just archetypally align with people's lives.
Yeah.
In an interesting way. But that's what I wanted to say. Just kind of I tend to think of my dad as being some sort of mystical dude.
Well, he has certainly.
He literally has channeled material. Just kind of like Edgar Cayce.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't wait to do a deep dive on Edgar Cayce. You really piqued my interest with that.
Yeah, dude, he's interesting.
Yeah. I'm excited for that Mystics episode, so y'all keep your eye out for that. That's going to be coming soon.
Yeah.
Probably in the next batch. But anyway.
Yeah, probably in the next batch.
We're super stoked. We're going to do some of these what ifs. So for those of you who don't know, we opened up a little thing on Twitter where you could submit just fun little what if questions.
Hypotheticals.
Yeah, just hypotheticals. We're just going to ponder some just weird, what if, out of the box kind of things. And we got a ton of submissions from you guys, and we're really thankful for that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's incredible. We've sifted through close to about 50 comments in the last 7 days, and most of them are rock solid. Some of them are just a little too specific.
Yeah, we want to keep this a little broad so that we can really ponder. Some of them are so specific the answers could be
it's a pointed question.
It'd be yes or no. So just try to keep it out of the box. Just really
again, what if reincarnation is real? And Nick and I want to tackle. Basically, what this is an exercise for Nick and I to stimulate a conversation about some of our fringe beliefs that we hold.
Yeah.
In an epic way. So, again, thank you for submitting, guys. So these are all submitted from you, the audience. And going forward, we're kind of playing around with the idea. We won't necessarily be able to do it every single episode, but we're playing around with the idea of reading somewhere 2 to 3 of these and giving people a shout out.
Every couple episodes or
something. Yeah.
So let's do one. I'm going to pull out of this thing. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, let's do it. Our first one comes from Axie. Oh, this is the person that was on the Twitch stream with us.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, it's got to be because their Twitch name was Axie something too.
Yo, okay, so let me just go into that for a second. Okay. So Nick and I are really enjoying, doing this. It's just always been our dream to create content together since we were basically 11 and
Kids,
12 years old. Yeah. And we just on the side, just as a fun little thing, Nick has started a Twitch called Daddy Dionysus.
Daddy
because that's his favorite Greek god, and it's just cool, whatever. So occasionally we stream games on there. So I suppose this Axie was one of the guys who was chilling and commenting on our stream. So shout out Axie.
Yes, thank you so much for submitting this and for interacting on the Twitch. So let's read it. And by the way, their is Clout Dankula.
Yo.
That's sick.
Yo.
That's sick. Okay, here we go. Ready?
Yeah.
They say, here's a fun one. What if the Marvel Universe was real? All characters, multiverse, everything. And as a kind of like a second part of it, if you could choose, what character or version of a character would you be? I want you to take it first.
Dude, you're the Marvel guy.
Yeah, okay, fine. I'll take it.
You're going to say Spider-Man, aren't you?
Of course. But what version of Spider-Man? That's what we'll get into. Let's do the first half of the question first. What?
Is it going to be fantastic, amazing, ultimate?
We'll see. You can wait and find out.
Dude, the suspense is literally choking me.
The first half of the question is, what if it was all real and all that? So I think the world would be very dangerous.
Yes, it would.
I mean, dude, in the Marvel universe, there are like interdimensional entities that can consume dimensions.
Yeah, Dormammu, right?
Dormammu literally feasts on dimensions. Galactus eats planets.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't want to live in that universe. Like, it would be horrifying. It would be really, really cool, but it'd be horrifying. So, the second part, what character I would be and what version of which character. So I would be Spider-Man. Spider-Man is my all-time favorite superhero.
Hey.
I love him so much. He's my all-time I've always related to him. I was a dork when I was a kid. I got picked on and bullied and whatever, but I still kept bringing my Spider-Man lunchbox. I've always loved Spidey. He's the best.
Do you want to talk about it?
Talk about what?
I'm just kidding. About being like picked on and bullied.
You want to talk about that? Yeah. And so the version of Spidey that I would be Cosmic Spider-Man.
I don't know him.
Oh my gosh. He's literally like imbued with like Silver Surfer magic. Like,
oh, what?
He's Cosmic Spider-Man. He can quite literally like shape reality, and he's on another level. He has like constellations on his suit and stuff.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
He is
What's
epic.
the point in Spider-Man being that powerful though?
Spider-Man is the most sprawling superhero of all. There are more versions of Spider-Man than there are of any other character.
Yeah.
And
he's also definitely
Spider-Man
one of the coolest.
is so important that, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Alex Googled Cosmic Spider-Man. The first thing that came up was a picture of What If, which is a new, show that Marvel's coming out with. But it's also the segment that we're doing right now, What If, and it's a picture of Cosmic Spider-Man.
Shout out Marvel.
Yes. Shout out Marvel. So anyway, Spider-Man is such a big deal because he was kind of the first superhero to like have a shitty life, for lack of a better word. Really at first it was like the only truly amazing thing about Peter Parker or Spider-Man was he had a pure heart, and regardless of how bad things were in his life, he just pushed through and persevered or whatever. So because he has such a pure heart, he ends up like crazy shit ends up happening to him. He becomes a god in some of the continuities. He's like Cosmic Spider-Man in some of them. Like he's the best. Anyway, that's my answer. What's yours?
I'm underprepared, and let me explain why. Because as we've said in episode 1, I grew up a little bit more with DC. I love both.
Yeah.
But I tended to watch a little more DC growing up. Mm-hmm. And now in my adult years, it's kind of the opposite.
Is it because of Martian Manhunter?
No, it's because of Superman and Batman.
Right.
No, but I love Marvel too. It's just, I don't know, man. What character would I be? Do I have to be a hero?
No, you could be a vigilante or you could be a villain.
I'd probably be Doctor Strange.
Oh, awesome. Great answer.
He's cool, dude. Like, he can basically shift the multiverse at will.
Yeah,
dude.
And he has the Eye of Agamotto, which is literally can manipulate time.
One of the most bad to the bone fight scenes in a live action film was Doctor Strange versus Thanos.
Oh,
that was sick.
That was some like Hindu, like
some cosmic
shit.
Not cosmic, but like some esoteric Eastern.
Dude, he was making like shadow clones of himself.
Yeah,
there was all sorts of like reality breaking geometry, and like that fight was sick. The new Spider-Man movie has Doctor Strange in it.
I know.
And oh my God, it looks incredible.
It looks absolutely incredible. Yeah, I think Doctor Strange about sums it up.
Awesome.
You want to do another question?
Let's do another one. Do you wanna pull this one?
Yeah, I'll pull this one.
Okay, cool. All right, go for it.
Okay, this one is from at Jovan Jester. Thank you. We really appreciate your submission. This is actually a pretty interesting question. What if most humans and living creatures on Earth are NPCs without souls?
Oh, wow.
Oh,
okay.
snap.
So, for those of you who don't know, NPC means non-playable character.
It's a video game term.
Yeah, it's like the little characters that are walking around doing nothing when you're playing a game.
Yeah.
That's a wild question.
It is. So I guess I'll go first with this.
Sure.
I think, here's the thing. Like, I consider myself a very empathic, sort of compassionate person. And it is hard for me to imagine that somebody wouldn't have a soul.
Right.
But then I start to think, and I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
You know what you mentioned on a former episode that kind of lends itself to this?
Please enlighten me.
I will. I'll enlighten you with your own thought.
Thank you.
You said in a previous episode that, like, you ever notice how some people live really simple lives, and they just go to work and they come home and they whatever. That would be like an NPC.
Yeah. I mean, it would. Now, it's hard because I tend to think, everybody has a soul, but then there's some real psychopaths in this world who you would argue, like, maybe they don't have a soul.
Yeah, you almost wonder, how can you have a soul connected to this collective consciousness and be like discompassionate, or even like take it really far, like evil people, murderers, and you know, whatever.
Now the question said, what if most people? So,
right.
If we're just like hypothetically here, if most people were NPCs, do you remember that episode of Fairly Odd Parents when he wished that everybody was like the same or whatever, and they were all
yes, oh
they were all gray blobs?
That's it. Yes, dude, that is a legendary show.
Yeah, dude, that's what I think of if we were all NPCs.
Good reference,
right?
That's a really good one.
Yeah. And like it ended up being terrible because everybody was exactly the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to the whole thought. Do you ever get the thought? I mean, I don't think you can really help having this thought, but it's popped into my head before, like, am I the only real person? You know what I mean? Yeah, I think everybody has that thought at some point.
It's like Jaden Smith, what if eyes aren't real?
Yeah. Yeah, how can mirrors be real if our eyes aren't real?
Yeah.
But like, have you had that thought before? Has that ever
Am I the only real? No, I haven't had that thought, but I mean, I've had some pretty weird thoughts.
I have had that thought, like, I don't know, that makes me a narcissist or what.
Dude, you want to hear my weird thoughts?
Please.
Like, what if we can't really go to space?
Alex said no.
What if space is a lie? What if NASA's orchestrating this huge hoax on humanity? And I kind of wanted to do an episode about that. Like, what if?
Well, let's do it in a future episode then.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so anyway, I think that'll do it. Those couple submissions, that'll do it for the episode. So please, guys, continue submitting these what ifs. We are loving it. You can put it on that same Twitter comment, and we're going to throw them in the jar.
We're definitely going to have to find a way to have one designated location to gather these questions. Yeah. But we'll figure it out.
If you guys have any ideas, please let us know. Maybe we could do a subreddit. Maybe we could do an email thing, or So if you have any ideas, let us know. But
maybe we could make a mega thread on the sub, because we do have a subreddit now.
Oh, that's a great idea.
We do have a Bledsoe Said So subreddit.
Yeah, so please.
It's free, open to the public.
Yeah, any of you Reddit users, go to Bledsoe Said. It's just r/Bledsoe Said So, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so go over there. We're on there interacting with people. We love interacting with you guys. So
hey, not a big deal, but we do have a TikTok. Bledsoe Said So.
We throw some stuff up.
Yeah, we throw some stuff, but it's not a big deal.
So anyway, keep submitting those what ifs. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We love you all very much.
We love you all very much.
And bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Weird things happen in the backyard of the Bledsoe house. See it hovering.